Good evening, ladies and gents, and welcome to another Live and Leash programme. Delighted to be joined by one of my wonderful co-hosts, Evan Tracy.
Hello,
Evan.
John.
Very good. Thanks for joining us this evening. And the whole programme this evening is media and media related, because we're delighted to be joined by MC Fitzpatrick, another very talented Rathdowney lady. We have another co-host from Rathdowney as well, MC Hannah Cal, and of course she's up to her eyes with college work this evening, can't make it. Very good of you, MC, to join us. Of course, TV presenter and YouTuber. And not only do we have MC in the house tonight, we have James Crombie, who is 2021 Press Photographer of the Year, and a Midlands man to boot as well, and an Offaly man to boot. Is that right, James?
Westmeath / Offaly. I'm from Westmeath, but I'm living in Offaly, so I don't know how that works. Confusing.
It's confusing, because you know that incredible photo. Hopefully, all our viewers have seen it. If not, we'll flash it up on the screen here now. The incredible photo of the Hurler on Crochan Hill that you took with the moon rising. Yeah, and that was your twin brother.
Yeah, another Westmeath man. So it took two Westmeath men to bring hurling back to Offaly, we're saying.
This is it. Yeah, Offaly hurling had gone bad, very bad. Saved by the Westmeath boys. Yeah,
absolutely.
Now, and James, there was a lot of planning in that photo. Can you tell the viewers about the planning involved? People see the end product and they go, well, sure, that was a stroke of genius. There's a bit more to it than that, isn't there?
Yeah, I first thought of that photograph about 10 years ago. So it only took 9 years to actually take it. But from actually thinking of the photograph to actually capturing it, I suppose everything that happened last year actually afforded me the opportunity to have time to actually execute it. Because usually I'm generally too busy. You know what I mean? I might see the moon, the full moon on the way home from work after being at an event all day. So like I had a whole 3 days to plan this shoot. So having that time was really valuable. And I had a colleague of mine who's a geophysicist, Colin Hogg, and he was able to do the maths for me. So we knew exactly when the moon would be, where it would be, how far away I needed to be, what focal length I needed to be at. So it just made capturing a shot quite easy, to be honest. And the secret was just to keep it I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell my colleagues, I didn't tell anyone else. So, because I didn't want it to be someone else's idea as well. So there was quite a reaction when it went out there eventually. Yeah, it was mad.
Absolutely. That photo was on the front cover of, I think it was the Guardian newspaper, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in the Guardian, definitely. I don't know if it was the front cover, it was definitely inside. It was in the front of the Irish News. It was kind of a weird one because I probably should have teed up 1 or 2 papers about it. By the time I captured it, it was nearly 9 o'clock at night. So it was kind of a tough one. You had to kind of get out there, but papers generally like 6, 7 o'clock for front pages. So it's a difficult one shooting something that hour of the night. But the reaction the next day, and it was in nearly every paper the following day, like the day after that. So yeah, it was kind of crazy. I think the Guardian used it with a story about Trump. So my brother was very happy about that him and Trump were being used in the same for the same story. Trump was trying to get oil on Mars or something. I don't know what, or on the moon or something. I don't know what he was on about at that stage. Who knows about what Trump was on about half the time.
Very good. So I mean, basically, there's a lot of preparation that goes into it. A lot of preparation.
Yeah, no, totally. Like, yeah, a shot like that, it definitely takes prep. Like, you know what I mean? I know a lot of other guys went out to capture the moon that night because it was the start of it was kind of like 3 weeks into the lockdown, and us photographers were like, there was no sports, so like there was kind of a story every day, and the super moon, the pink moon, I think it was called that day, was a story. So every photographer was out there, but I think it was quite a unique shot and quite a unique way to shoot it. But just took a bit of planning, you know.
How did you come up with the idea for the photo?
I don't know. It just came into my head one night. And I remember there was a guy, Cathal Noonan, another photographer that worked at Info. He's now gone on to Cork. But I remember saying to him one night in probably Coppers about 10 years ago that I want to get someone hurling on the moon. And he thought it was a great idea, but we just never got around to capturing it. And, there was a bit of a lead up to that. The news was kind of slow for a while, so there was a lead up to this supermoon. So we got a bit of momentum 3 or 4 days out. We done our plan, and I was there the night before. I shot it that night, and I went up the next night just to watch the big moon, because the moon doesn't change. Like this, the full moon looks full for about 3 or 4 days either side of it. There's a slight change in it, but it's not like massive. You know what I mean? So that was the idea. I just got in my head. I don't know where it came from. I just had an idea. I said, because I know you can silhouette people against the moon. It's quite hard. The key is to be far enough away from them. There's a lens compression thing that makes the moon look even bigger than it was. I had it in my head, and then it was just a matter of actually executing it. So I think it worked out quite well.
Did you have to do any editing on the photo?
The 2 of the biggest shots I've taken in the last 12 months have required no editing, which is meant like the moon. I basically had to crop it a little bit, and that was it. There was no, the exposures were right. Everything, it was fine. And the other shot we'll probably talk about later on, literally not had to brighten it a tiny bit. But the best shots shouldn't require a lot of editing. If you nail it right. And if it's going to be used editorially, there can't really be a lot of editing. Like we have to. There's some kind of standards that have to be kept in the newspapers. I don't, use multiple images for anything. I have to be able to capture it in the camera.
Yeah. And just we'll bring in MC there. You've been waiting patiently while the photographers in the house do their usual thing of editing and all this stuff, which goes way above my head. But MC, you had a law degree, and then you got a master's in multimedia in DCU. So obviously, was media there in the background before or during the law degree, or did you have a eureka moment that basically, I want to go into media?
Mm-hmm. It's a funny one, because when I tell people I have a law degree, their reaction usually is surprise, and then asking for legal advice I can never help with. So English was my best subject in school, and my eldest sister is a barrister. So when I was leaving school, I hadn't a clue what I wanted to do, and the guidance counsellor was trying to help me figure out things, and I was deciding between, should I take a year out, should I just go for it? I decided to just go with law, because I was like, surely it'll make sense. And I don't want to say I hated it, because like there are interesting elements to law, but I just never saw myself as someone who's going to sit in an office writing wills for the rest of my life. So I took a year out after my degree, and I did a little bit of soul searching, I should say, or internet browsing more so. But in my final year in college, I made a students' union campaign video for one of my friends called 50 Shades of Donal, very, very original. But the video went viral at the time. And I didn't have any formal training. I was self-taught in editing, and it was, looking back now, I cringe at it, but that was the kind of spark. I thought to myself, I love making YouTube videos and doing kind of silly comedy, but like this kind of production level, I really was drawn to it. So I applied for the Masters in Multimedia, and I got in, and I learned a huge amount in that year. I from videography, editing, sound design, everything, and I just absolutely loved it. I love being behind the camera, and I love editing in particular. I even love motion graphics and graphic design. So that whole world, it was just always something I really found interesting. And I think I came up, like my eldest sisters, my 2 older sisters, they just don't get YouTube or the internet kind of creator side of things at all. But I'm 8 years younger than my eldest sister, and I kind of grew up when YouTube was becoming really the in thing. And I used to look at vloggers and YouTubers and be like, that is so cool, I want to do that, but I'm from Laois, how do I do that? And I just kind of learned as I went, and I worked as a video producer for 2.5 years, and then I quit in September, just gone. Very, very bold move during 2020. But I was just very fortunate that Martin Shade, the TV show that I worked on 2 seasons on, and Ace My Space 2 seasons on, they just all kind of culminated around the same time, and I just took the plunge, and was very lucky. Got to make a TV show from my dad's shed in Laois. So.
That's right. And Martin, I think Martin is Ray. Am I right in saying that?
Well, rumors would have it that it would be, but I cannot
Oh,
confirm or deny it.
Oh, we keep that quiet. And so you've mentioned the magic word editing, just like James and Evan. It's the buzzword tonight. Obviously, there are skills that are interchangeable between photography and what you're doing at the moment. I mean, obviously, and your English comes into it as well. You're scripting things all the time, I'm assuming.
That's right. I was a writer on season 2 of Ace My Space and Martin Shade. So there's a huge amount of script writing. Like even I was making, Photoshop masterpieces for Martin Shade. We did an episode about music and album covers and what would they look like if they were sheds. So we had Radio Shed, we had Shed Zeppelin, and I was photoshopping all these sheds onto album covers. So really using my masters for to good use, putting it to good use. But it certainly is like I work in front of the camera. That I kind of fell into that completely by accident through YouTube. I got an email one day from a production company looking to make a kids show, and I thought it was like a spam email. I didn't think it was, and then I just fell into that, and I loved it. And I'm kind of in a fortunate position now where I'm freelancing kind of video producer right now, and I'm working on a couple of projects, and I'm in between. I'm very lucky. I get to be in front and behind the camera, which I love doing both.
And working with Sean on Ace Your Space, he's even younger still.
Yes.
I think he's studying like our Evan studying for the Leaving Cert. Am I right in saying that?
That's right. Yeah, he's there's 9 years between us, so he's in 5th year right now. He's just gone into 5th year, and like it's it was so funny because as I said, I kind of fell into this completely brand new. I did the started Ace My Space 2019. Never really done anything like that before. I actually used to be an extra on First City during college, so that's my claim to fame. But I'd never auditioned or done anything before. So when I got it, and we did our first day of filming, this 15-year-old turned to me and he said, "Don't worry, if you've any questions, just let me know." And I was like, thank you so much. And he's great though. He makes films and short films, and he's been in film festivals and everything. Like he's the same. He does behind the camera and in front of camera, and I think he wants to inevitably direct and go into that side of things. But he's very talented. Yes. He's a very interesting guy.
And his handle is Stellar Sean.
That's right. He's Stellar Sean.
And your handle is MC Loves to Laugh.
That's right. Yeah, I actually I had a YouTube channel when I was like 16 called Hey It's Mary Claire, and I deleted it after the summer because I went back to school and I got absolutely berated. Like in fairness, it was awful. So I'm glad I deleted it when I did. But MC Loves to Laugh was from actually back in my Bebo Stunner days. I made my MC Loves to Laugh handle my name on everything, so it kind of stuck all these years later. It's still MC LUVS Loves to Laugh.
Yeah. It's brilliant. But the only thing that struck me, and actually I had to attend a webinar online today, and it's all about that YouTube and Instagram Reels. It's a new one on me. I'm learning all the time. Yeah. But what struck me is you have an absence of people of, say, my generation doing these things. Is it younger people are just digital natives, or their attitude is we're just going to have a laugh and try this, not thinking that there could be a business or a career out of it?
It's an interesting one, because like even from my other perspective, like I'm working on a few projects right now and we're focusing on TikTok, and it's like, well, it's the trope of like, well, TikTok's Gen Z, it's for teenagers, but that's really not the case. There's been a huge increase in the millennial audience of TikTokers, and like people always think that's mid-20s, late 20s, but that's all the way up to 40 plus, and there's a huge influx, I think, and particularly since lockdown and the pandemic, people are turning to social media a lot more. And when I started YouTubing when I was 16, I didn't know of any other Irish creators. I didn't know anybody else making these videos, and I thought I was the only weirdo recording myself in my bedroom. But then even then, like 9 years ago, 10 years ago, it was like we used to have these little Facebook groups and we'd find each other, and suddenly then we had a thing called CrackCon, which we made for all these YouTubers to meet. And it's so fun thinking back on it now, because today everyone's on a social media, whether you're a content creator, whether you're a person who's viewing, it's also interactive. And everybody I know, whether they would have been the stereotypical YouTuber from back in the day, they make some kind of content. We're always all putting ourselves in some way online. I think that's just part and parcel of the way the world is going. And I think it's more accessible for more people, because like I joke, like, I'm from Laois, I don't know how to get into TV, but it is the truth. Like I come from a farming background. I don't know anybody in media. And I got into a position where I made YouTube videos. I got a little bit of traction online. Somebody found me. And I ended up making TV shows, which is something that would have never happened 20 years ago. So I think it's great to give people more access.
Yeah, so in that sense, online social media is more democratic.
I think it's harder to cut through, certainly, because everybody has the access, and because everyone's making videos now, it's harder to cut through and be a distinct voice online. But the democracy of it is that anybody can be that voice online. Everyone has the opportunity to cut through. And I was actually only having a conversation with somebody about this last week, that I had a video in 2016 called Irish Mammies on Social Media, and it ended up getting my mum and I an interview with Daithí O'Shea on the afternoon show. And like back then, that video had 200,000 views, and that was, you know, it was very good for Ireland. It was still great, and I couldn't believe that we got an interview. You go onto a TikTok now, and every other one you scroll through is getting 1 million views. So it's amazing how in 5 years, 200,000 views is a very small number. The way the world has gone.
Wow. And James, are you on YouTube yourself?
My girls are. I have a 10 and an 8-year-old who have a channel, and they make me do the videos. But they'd like them just be messy. But I try to put a bit of finesse in them. They're terrible, but they're terrible from my shooting point of view. But that's all they want to be. Listen to MC. They want to be YouTubers. They want to do challenges and tree marker challenges, and you know, it's crazy. I think I don't know. I've never got myself a channel. But yeah, there's a lot of work in it. I can only imagine the amount of, like, it's not a quick turnaround for them. I'm telling the girls, like, you know, you could spend half a day getting one right. They think you can just shoot on your phone and stick it up. You know what I mean? I'd say MC, you probably spend hours doing it, do you?
Yeah, but with YouTube in particular, but with the thing, I think the reason TikTok has become so popular among younger people and just creators in general, like I've started making TikToks more, is because it's the in-app editing capabilities that just didn't exist before. Like I would use Adobe software as Premiere Pro and After Effects to edit my YouTube video, and they could take, like if I'm making a 10-minute, you know, vlog, you could be hours and hours and hours editing it. And then on the flip side, you know, I could make a TikTok in 10 minutes and I could get 3 times, 4 times the amount of views. So I think my only fear with the rise of it is that, like, I as someone who loves video editing and video producing, are we losing a little bit the kind of that you know, long form content, and you know, the need and urge, I suppose, for creating longer content and high quality content. Not to say that TikTok isn't high quality, but it's just the ability to just make something and so quickly. So it's, you know, I'd call myself a YouTuber, but I'm calling myself a YouTuber less and less, because I'm making so much less content on YouTube because of how long and how much time it takes to film. Film setup. You have to set up your lighting, you know, script the video, do the conversation, make the video, and then spend all that time editing. And you're trying to put in snappy and fun edits, and it's not just like cut points. And it does take an awful lot of time for unfortunately kind of low return, because you know, there's a lot of changes in YouTube in the last few years, and the way they used to do ad revenue has completely changed. So a lot of YouTubers now are selling merch or like doing all these extra revenue streams, which I've never really partaken in. But it's very, very much a different world.
We had to source some merch for my daughter for Christmas from one of our YouTubers. Like, crazy. That's the way it's gone. She wants merch from, I don't know who it was, but yeah. But it's probably TikTok's probably a similar kind of Instagram for photographers is TikTok for videographers, you know what I mean? Because everyone's putting pictures up on Instagram and putting a filter on them. And the irony is, a picture can look great at 1 inch by 1 inch, you know what I mean? But when you blow it up, the quality's not there, you know what I mean? And it's probably the same with a phone video. Like I've done it's messing my phone. The minute I stick it on my 27-inch screen, it looks terrible. Like, you know what I mean? So if it's not shot in the right conditions, so look, there are probably similarities in TikTok and Instagram, but I think photographers now embrace it as opposed to are scared of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
James, have you made a living off photography?
Yeah, I'm a professional sports photographer, so I work for Info Photography in Dublin. So basically, I'm a sports photographer like 24/7. So I've managed to travel everywhere. It's like I'm going to the Olympics this year, and I was at the last Olympics. So for me, it's a job. Like, you know, if there's someone young trying to get into it, if you really want to do it, as a sports photographer, you will be noticed by the agency. There's 2 agencies in Ireland that do it. There's agencies abroad, but I never studied photography. I studied IT in Carlow. I done a reality TV show in 2005 to get the job, but I got my foot in the door and I wasn't going back. So it's like anything. If you work hard enough, if you put in the effort, if you listen to, like, there's so many good photographers out there sports wise, you can just look and see their stuff, you know, take their advice. They know what they're doing. Every time we get a young photographer into our place now, I speak to them and I talk to them about what I know. And I say, look, and some of them will have attitudes about their own stuff. I say, look, if you want to make in this game, you just have to work hard and take the advice of the guys around you, you know, and there is a career in it for the minute anyway, as long as there's still papers and
Yes.
TV rights where people need still images instead of the live footage. So yeah, we're still there.
Yeah. And James, there's another photo that caught my eye. You took an incredible shot, the All-Ireland senior football semi-final last year, Mayo against my native Tipperary. Yeah. Bad result, great photo. Can you explain how that shot came about? And is that the one you were referring to earlier that you didn't have to filter? You didn't have to edit?
No, I'm talking about the Murmuration. I assume you've seen that one that we'll probably talk about later on.
Yes.
No, there was no edit. That one, it wasn't shot in black and white because cameras, you can change the camera shoot in black and white. So I did change it to black and white. But again, the atmosphere was there. It was foggy. It was empty. You know, there's very little actually work done to that. Maybe a little slight adjustments on the levels. But yeah, that one. I think the best sports action picture of the year. It's a good shot. I don't know if it was the best sports action picture taken in Ireland last year, but at the awards it won it anyway. So I'll take it. But I suppose it did sum up the times we're living in. Like, there was no one there. There was no Ireland semi-final. Like for Tipperary, that was a massive game. You may correct me, John, but is it the first time in 50 years Tipperary were in All Ireland semi-final football?
The first time since 1935.
Yeah, a lot more than 50 years. So to have that game and no one there, like, was quite it's sad for the guys and their families, because like Mayo were a good team. Mayo were heavy favourites for that game. But there was no, help from the crowd or anything.
Yeah, well, actually, I stand corrected, because we got to the semi-final in 2016, but it was the first time to be in an Ireland semi-final as reigning Munster football champions.
Okay, the proper name.
Yeah, and of course, James, you referred to the Murmuration photo, stunning photo, and you were interviewed by American TV about it. They have you down as a dub, by the way.
Yeah, I think everyone in America, I think Dublin is the only part of Ireland anyway. But sure, look, it was 1:30 in the morning, so I said, just let it go. I'll take it. I'll take it on the chin.
Oh no, take it as praise, because our wonderful Dublin native co-host Trudy Carmody is in on the call now. So we have to be careful. It's praise. It's praise, isn't it, Trudy?
Well, it could be worse. You could have been. They could have said you were someone from Great Britain.
Yeah,
they usually rob all of our good people.
I'm not Great British yet, so thank God.
I'm just sitting here watching of a generation closer to John's than the young guys. And when we were in school, I could be a nurse, or I could be a teacher, or I could be a mammy. And I just think it's amazing. And they're saying, because it's a democratic platform and anyone can go on and shove any kind of crap up there and get 1 million people or 1 million hits or whatever.
Content, Trudy, content.
Exactly.
Not-
But maybe quality is losing out sometimes. But you know what? I just think it's amazing to have some options and for young people today to have some choices in terms of a career. There's no way I would have sat down with a career guidance teacher 30 years ago and said, oh, I think there's going to be this great thing called YouTube and I'm going to be on it. You know, it was, hey, Trudy, nurse or mammy or teacher, like, but it's even the photography, and Evan is asking you, can you make a living at this? And MC, can you make a living at this? And yeah, you can in today's market, like. And there's a couple of photographers. Actually, my cousin is in the Netherlands and he listens every week. And Stephen is a fabulous amateur photographer, and his brother is Walter Cassidy. You probably have heard of James. And two fabulous photographers. And they're making, well, Walter's making a career at it. Stephen just does it as amateur.
That's 100% it.
It's funny, you're saying, like, you know, young people now, you know, there's almost a confidence in creating content. Like, it's such a difference. Like, when I was in school and, you know, like, I was 16 and I deleted my channel because I was so embarrassed about people seeing it. And now that's gone. Everybody's making things, everybody's doing things. And I think there is, you know, while there is downfalls of social media, of course, there's it's encouraging confidence, I think, and you know, it's allowing, you know, there's the embarrassment of oh, what if someone sees this? It's almost eliminated because everybody's making some kind of content now, and I think that's like a positive side to social media that should be celebrated. Like, you know, there are obvious negatives, and you know, I work with kids a lot, you know, through my work, and you know, the self, you know, body image and is a huge issue right now within, you know, social media spheres, and how do we tackle that with young people? But while it's an obvious issue, and I think there's a movement now online, I'm seeing a lot of influencers and content creators removing filters, you know, showing themselves in more natural lighting, showing themselves at all the editing and all these, you know, tools that are being used. And I think when that movement comes, you know, more to the forefront, it's only going to be more beneficial for people to see that, like, not everybody has this perfect rose tinted glasses, you know, persona. There's more, you know, there's a reality behind it, you know.
I think there's a massive responsibility on parents, though, with kids to, like, I'm trying to drill into my 10-year-old to you know, to be kind to everyone, to be nice to everyone. I think that there is a responsibility for us older generation to try and instill that in them, because it's hard. That social media world doesn't, you know, like, look what happened to Gordon Elliott last week. Like, once it gets out there, you're gone. You know what I mean? I know what he did was terrible and everything, but years ago, if that was just in a newspaper, not everyone has seen it. I'd say everyone in Ireland has seen that picture at this stage, you know.
I'm going to college in September to do a photography course, and was basically told by teachers that, like, you're not going to make anything at this, like, have a backup. So I was planning on doing, like, sports photojournalism. And mainly I wanted to focus on just the photography, but was told not to, like, because you won't make a living out of it, like.
Well, there's a good few guys making a living out in Ireland, but it's just, again, it's hard work and, you know, determination and speaking to everyone you can speak to. Like, I was at the awards show the other night. There's 100 professional press photographers in Ireland. Do you know what I mean? So there's lots of very good photographers who are doing, you know, weddings and doing other stuff. So there is work there. People still want still imagery. It mightn't be as, you know, as broad as was years ago, but there's still, if you're good enough, you'll make it, you know, and if you work hard enough.
Yeah.
What equipment do you use?
I'm all Canon, so the Canon 1DX Mark IIIs and Mark IIs, and actually, so all Canon, long lenses and stuff. But you know, and they all say it's not about the equipment, but it definitely helps. Do you know what I mean? Especially when it comes to sport.
7D.
Yeah, good, very good camera. Yeah,
just a 70 to 200 millimeter f4. And two other cameras as well.
Like I turned up at a game once in Waterford and I forgot my long lens, which is our torpedo lens, and I had to shoot in 7200, and I got away with it because I was, you know, using the right angles. I was more creative than I would have been with the long lens. So it can definitely be done. You know, I go to so many games. Actually, one of the pictures from the awards this year was taken at Tullamore versus Bangor in Division 3 All Ireland League Rugby in February. There was no photographer there. Do you know what I mean? There was no club photographer for either team. There was no press photographers there. we wouldn't cover that level. But the pictures, the guys were covered in mud. It was freezing. I was like, this is a dream. I wish I could give up like Munster and Ospreys and cover this game today. You know, there's much better pictures we had there. And that's, you know, I'm assuming Portlaoise have a rugby club. You know, the next muddy day, go down there, you'll get great pictures. There's not enough photographers out there willing to get wet. And that's where the great pictures are. They're not at, I'll be doing, I'm not traveling the Six Nations this year. I'm staying at home, but I'll be doing Ireland, England next week. I guarantee if Portlaoise were playing Nina and it was a muddy, wet day, you get better pictures out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's so hard to get for a photographer to get like a press pass.
I walked into that Tullamore Bangor game. I drove in the front gate. No one even looked at me. You know what I mean? So that level again, that's where you go to the agency and say, look, I've been trying to find good games locally, and this is the kind of stuff I'm coming up with. And they might say, look, you're not shooting it right, shooting too far away. But that's the kind of commitment that makes people sit up and say, well, look, this guy really wants to do it. Let's give him a chance. Yeah. And I would say one other thing is get a driving license for any young person. We've had so many guys turn up at our place and they can't drive. Well, how are you meant to go to Killarney tomorrow? Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't get a train, like, you know, get a driving, make that your first priority, get that. Even if you don't have a car, just have that piece of paper that says you can drive. For any young person, I think it's so important.
Yeah, I was trying to get into GAA games for a while and couldn't. But now after getting a job as Carlo, a GAA photographer.
Good.
So I have the press pass and everything. I'm waiting for media accreditation for the FAI, so...
Yeah, no, fair play. And look, we'll definitely get in touch if you need some advice. And I can look through your pictures and stuff and tell you, point you in the right direction. So
brilliant, James. That's great.
Get that driving license.
It's so important, like, especially in Ireland. We don't have a public transport system here. You know, you could survive in the UK. You can't. So I live in the countryside. I'm 10 miles away from civilization, you know.
Yeah. An advantage over everyone else, no matter what the career you do.
Totally.
Yeah. But off camera, myself and Evan, just before you logged on, guys, we were talking about insurance, and insurance for young men insurance is expensive anyway in the country, but for young men, it's extortionate. And hopefully now with the news this week, hopefully insurance premiums will go down for everyone. It's a big roadblock for young people starting out that need to drive to get to all these gigs. But back to James, I'm just curious about something there. You might clear this up for me and the viewers. Back to the Murmuration shot. You had a videographer with you.
Yeah.
Was that because there are photos out there, unfortunately, that are fake, that are photoshopped? And did you want to have the video to show that, well, it's true, it happened, we didn't fake anything, and then I was able to take the photo in the middle of the video? Or am I reading too much into that?
It was absolute and utter luck. There was nothing else to it. We had been out nearly 50 nights at that stage, and I had shot video. My friend isn't a videographer, but you know, he's trying to learn how to take video. So I actually had my second camera, and 2 or 3 nights I tried setting it up as well as shooting my stuff, just so I'd have a vision, because visually it's beautiful. It's nearly hard to portray it. You've seen the video. It's very hard to portray that in still photography. Some of the movements, they don't work for photography. So I was trying to set that up and shoot. And that particular night, I just said to him, look, will you do it tonight? And he goes, great. So he was able to move around. You know, there was a bit of vista where we were. So I'd love to say I was really planned and organized and stuff, but it was a complete and utter fluke. And I think I'd still be, like, there's still people questioning that it's a still from the video. It's not. You can hear my shutter go off. It's not a still from the video, and so just very, very lucky that he was there that night as well. And I think that the image and the video go hand in hand, you know what I mean? So yeah.
Photographers, when you get photographers in the room.
I just got a Facebook request from Evan there, so he's definitely we're in touch now, so we're all good.
Oh, brilliant! I
don't know how he's multitasking. These young people these days.
Yeah, they're brilliant. They leave the old fogies behind, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Evan is phenomenal, personally. Yeah. I didn't realise he was still in school.
You want some applause on that?
And doing the photography as well. Like, fair play to him. You know, I just think he's hardworking and he's a fabulous photographer, and he'll go places if he continues that way.
Yeah. But I'm just thinking of both you, Mary Claire, and James. Is there scope out there for how-to videos on basically how to do, we'll say, lighting for YouTube videos, or how to take action shots, James, in your case? Like, surely you don't have to go to college, or is there a shortcut people can take? I'm thinking of people who are, during the lockdown now, their career is gone in some cases. They want to retrain. Is there scope for we'll say, 4-week courses, 6-week courses that you could deliver, or have you thought about that, Mary Claire?
Not personally, I haven't, but I know that they do exist, certainly, like even within the TV and film world, and being on sets, like there are people who would argue that there's no need to go to college in one, for this stuff. If you get onto a set as a runner, you can learn it. I think it's difficult in Ireland, but there is Sean Tracy, actually my co-host, he's had so much experience now. He was having a conversation about whether or not he should go to film school, with all the expenditure, to just try and get to work. I think it's definitely a learning curve. Like I did my master's, and I worked as an unpaid intern for 3 months after college in a video production company, making 50 quid a week. And in one sense, is that it's extortionate because I was doing full edits, but in the other sense, I came from a law degree, having done nothing and had no experience, and it was so valuable for me because I was able to make a show reel, and it's so important to be able to show your skills and different things like that. So I think in terms of doing courses and kind of, I don't think there's any quick way to, like, you can certainly learn how to set up a light. You can certainly learn how to set up a light, what kind of lighting works for different scenarios. You could learn how to, basic settings on a camera, what lenses to use for different scenarios. You could certainly learn all that on paper, but I think from my experience, until you actually go out and do it, and you actually go out and start experiencing it and actually start working on jobs, you need that experience. And I was so green when I started working in video, and when I did my job, I was working for 2.5 years as a videographer, producer, kind of multimedia designer. I went in openly saying I'm not really a camera operator. I'm very much post-production. I work behind a desk, but it was needed for the job. You're kind of expected to be a jack of all trades. So I had to learn on the job, like how to become a good videographer, how to become a good camera op. And I think a lot of it is experience.
Just doing it.
You just do it. Like I've been so lucky. Like I've done amazing work. Like I've gone to Tokyo and LA and UK filming, and I wouldn't be able to do that if I was sitting behind a desk editing. So I think it's valuable to go out and get the experience. And simply, I used to shoot a lot of like horse yards. Talking about Gordon Elliott, I used to shoot a lot of horse yards, and I worked with Ruby Walsh and a few others. And like when you start shooting animals, that sounds weird out of context. When you start filming animals, it's amazing what kind of experience you get, because they say don't work with animals or kids, but like it's amazing experience you get when you start trying to be like control a wild animal almost, and the shots you can get, and it's just on the groundwork. It's where you learn it all.
I found cars are really awkward to shoot as well. Trying to move a car for a photograph is like you're trying this way, that way. So don't work with children, animals, or cars.
I'll add that to
add that to the list. But from my point of view, John, there's no quick and easy way to do it. It takes a lot of trial and error, especially with photography. It takes a lot of advice from people, and it takes a lot looking at other people's work. There's so many good, like the internet. We have a unfiltered amount of access to content to view and to look and see what the best guys in the world are doing, and does my stuff match up to them. So that's it just needs time and experience. I spent, I think, the first 2 years working on the picture desk in our place, and that's what nearly every photographer does and should do, because you see the likes of myself and my colleagues who are doing it now, their stuff's coming in. you have to, sometimes we can send from the cameras now. So we're at a big game, we'll send directly to the office the file that comes out of the camera. They have to caption it, Photoshop it, and then distribute it out to the paper. So they're learning what we, what we're seeing, what we're doing, and that's how they get experience, And like I must say, there's 2 companies in Ireland that do sports photography that hire about 20 or about 17, 18 photographers, and they're always on the lookout for the next photographer. So if someone does come there and works there behind off, it's not going to go unnoticed. I even showed, I was up with my boss there the other day and just had a chat with him. I said some young guy got in touch with me, and I showed him the stuff, and he looked at it. He's still looking for the next time. He said, yeah, it was okay, yeah. And then he just went off. But he will look at stuff. If you are good enough, you will get picked up. You know what I mean? So yeah,
that's you, Evan. That's you.
No, that's you. I think Evan left. Did he? Did he get tried?
No, he's back. No, he's back again. It's back again. It's rural broadband. It's an ongoing issue. We keep this crops up almost every week on the show. It's like it's breaking our hearts. But anyway,
it's the joys live in the Midlands. We had a guy, Tommy Dixon, turned up to us about 3 years ago, and he basically banged on the door and he asked for a meeting with my boss. He was 18, from Fermanagh, and he said, "I wanted to become a photographer. What do I have to do?" And my boss said, "Well, you live in Fermanagh." He says, "I'll come down." I think he stayed in a hotel for a week in Dublin. He started doing stuff for free. He wanted to, he's been nominated for the British Junior Photographer of the Year this year, 3 years later. He's been all over the world working with us so far. He just showed up. He had a driving license. He had willing to work, and he's very confident for a 21-year-old. I wasn't that confident when I was 21, but he just so confident, and that people skills and stuff is very important as a photographer and in any walk of life as well. You know what I mean? But that comes, I was incredibly nervous teenager in school, very incredibly shy. Like, I wouldn't have been able to do any kind of public speaking but you learn that with experience as well,
Yeah. And like, I mean, Mary Claire, you've mentioned you were over in Tokyo. You have the Ireland-England game coming up next weekend. But James, what was your favorite sporting venue to shoot in?
Venue, I'll say country. I spent about a month in New Zealand photographing the 2017 Lions tour. And the company Info worked for the Lions, so we're their official photographers. So we have 2 guys on the inside, and I was the guy on the outside of the camp. The other 2 guys were completely embedded. Suits, shirts, shoes, watches, they got everything, headphones, where I was sleeping out in a camper van. No, but I was actually there to try sell the experience of a fan, which I've done a few times. I've done it the last 2 Euros as well, which has been great. So I was trying to sell for the next Lions tour, which unfortunately is not going to happen this time. So all the work I did in 2017 about moving around New Zealand is kind of not much use. But that whole month, incredibly bad weather and everything, but it was just such crack. It was a great trip.
The question put quickly: the way the internet is changing, how fast it's changing. Like this time, oh no, I'm old. This time a year or 2 ago, there was no TikTok. Now it's everywhere. Instagram, relatively new, everywhere and evolving all the time. So where do you think a year, 2 years down the road, what do you think of the possibilities, basically, for a career as, I call it a YouTuber, but I don't necessarily mean a YouTuber, I mean a person working online?
Yeah. So the word now, I think the word they use is content creator, or which is kind of an all-encompassing word, which is nice.
Yeah.
It's so hard to know. Like, if you'd asked me this question a couple of years ago, I would have been completely wrong. So I'd say I'll be completely wrong again. I think what's going to happen, I think, in terms of the use of social media, it's advertising. For brands, advertising, there's going to be more and more there's going to be more streaming service series, and I think there's going to be a complete increase in the use of online media for TV, for social media, for news, for everything. I think we're in a crossroads at the moment in terms of in terms of news and journalism, because it's kind of at a crossroads at the moment in terms of clickbait is a kind of the buzzword, but we're in a stage now where for newspaper institutions and stuff to survive in the digital world. They need to create content that's going to get clicks. They're going to need to, you know, get that through ad revenue. And I think people have this kind of reluctance when it comes to online media. Like, we can get subscription services for newspapers, for independent or whoever it is. You can pay to access their articles monthly, and there's almost this aversion to, like, why would I pay? The internet is free, yet you'd pay for a physical newspaper. And I think in the next, I'll be very interested to see how people's attitude towards paying for media. Like 5 years ago, the idea, you know, people used to stream and pirate stuff online, and now Netflix, Amazon Prime, all these things have become commonplace. Everybody has multiple streaming service subscriptions. But I'd love to see in the next few years is the same happening to journalism and digital media and news outlets, because I believe it's so important to have a source of information online that we can rely on. And if the attitude can shift to that as well, it's commonplace for people to have subscriptions to their favorite news outlets and to support them, and it'll hopefully encourage the dying out of you know, this clickbait and pay for clicks media, because it's destroying journalism. So that's my positive
really?
Yeah, that's my positive hope of where things will go. But in reality, who knows?
Plus, the situation is crying out for the license fee to be distributed across a wider media spectrum for local newspapers, even though local radio stations. Well, for quality journalism, quality content, you need to pay for it, and I think that realization is dawning on people. You have to pay for the quality stuff. But I have to say to James and to Mary Claire, thanks for coming in and taking the time out this evening virtually to have a chat with us. Really appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, and we almost got the county right. James.
Yeah, Westmeath definitely. Like, I am living, and I have 4 daughters here in Offaly, and my wife's from Offaly, and my house I live in is Offaly, but I'm from Westmeath.
There you go. You're flying the flag. And Mary Claire, thanks for joining us. You're not down in Rathdowney at the moment, are you?
No, I'm not in Rathdowney. No, I'm living in Dublin, and I'm stuck. I just want to go home and walk the sheepdogs. But look, we'll be grand. We'll make do for a few more weeks and a few more months. But thanks very much for having me. And as a very proud Laois woman, I'm more than happy to chat and talk about it. It's great. It's great. It's hilarious. The more I talk about being from Laois online, my American audiences get so confused, and I just absolutely love it. It's just, it's great.
Don't even try spell it, John.
Oh yeah, it's always Laois in there, and then I have to spell it out. It's just like, what? It's like a dog leash. That's what it is.
The best I got was lousy, Port Lousy and Lousy. It's just
between the two of you anyway, you're helping put the Midlands and Laois and Westmeath on the map.
I have to say before I go, because we've been talking about the amazing moon photo that James took. We had a hurling character on Martin Shed as an homage to a very famous Laois hurler, and we called him Cheesy Flunkett. So we had our own hurling reference in the show.
There you go.
Oh, very good.
I haven't photographed any sheds yet either, so I must.
Cheddar needs a photo shoot, I tell you.
Yeah. But thanks again. Really appreciate it. And to my wonderful co-hosts, to Evan and to Trudy, thanks for helping me out this evening. And to Hannah at home, don't get too stressed with the college work. Hopefully you'll be back on with us next week. And to our wonderful viewers, stay well, stay safe. You know the usual drill. The news show every Saturday 9 o'clock. The sports show every Wednesday 9 o'clock. Do check us out on YouTube, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we'll see you next week. Bye now.